Hello, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining. This is Jonathan Dane over at Client Boost. I have the distinct pleasure of working with Damon over at Vervoe, and one of the things that we've struggled with for a very, very long time until we gotten a bit more scientific about it, using tools like Vervoe as well. We basically have been able to hire better and better people and really not have many setbacks from a human standpoint. So Damon, thank you so much for being here with us.
Hey, Jonathan, good morning. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you and the Client Boost team getting us set up today.
Yeah. And for you guys watching right now, I know Damon won't be as brutally straightforward as I will, but I would highly, highly recommend that you guys try Verbo for a spin. Like you have to. And one of the things that I love about content is like it can actually give you actionable things to do. And so if you take the time to set things up and actually, like I said, take Verbo for a spin, you probably will never change the way that you're hiring again, because again, it just does so much. So Damon, I'm excited for you to kind of take us through it and also all the stats and data that you have. So I think most of the people are here right now too. Anybody who could make it as well, we are recording this and sending that out too. So Damon, go ahead.
Great, Jonathan. I appreciate it, and good morning to everybody out there. Thanks for joining us today. So yeah, Jonathan, just to kind of lean off of that, and I know our topic today is to find some secrets identify secrets behind identifying the perfect marketing hire, and hopefully I can share a little bit around that today and give some insight into how we have our clients also doing that via Vervoe. But just a little bit about who I am real quickly. My name is Damon Gage. I am the president of North America for Vervoe. I am passionate about working with teams and helping them realize better ways to utilize technology, and doing that through the understanding of data. It's something I've been doing most of my career. At Vervoe, I have really focused on channeling that passion around the hiring process, and have put a keen concentration on the diversity and inclusion piece of hiring. In my 15 plus years at Silicon Valley building, whether it's sales, marketing, customer success teams, I believe my experience has led me to believe that job candidates should be selected on how they perform a job, Jonathan, and not on their background. So
Completely agree.
As president of North America, I am responsible for promoting Vervoe's company mission, which you'll hear lots about today, leading our go-to-market and operational strategies, and for essentially all things customer-focused globally. Prior to joining Vervoe, my specialty has been in leading the go-to-market strategy for some cutting-edge SaaS-based startups and enabling growth from whether it be zero through acquisition. I was part of the early WebEx team that was involved in the Cisco acquisition and worked for Cisco for a number of years after that acquisition. So having led teams from both large corporations and in the startup sector, hopefully I can share a unique perspective on workplace culture, motivation, and what makes teams successful today. I do hold a BS in business administration from Colorado State University with, funny enough, a concentration in marketing. So should be a good conversation today. So enough about me. Let's talk about the secrets behind identifying the perfect marketing hire and what we might be able to do. I want to make sure that I preface this slide, Jonathan, with the fact and a statement that I certainly do not claim to know everything that there is to know about hiring the perfect marketer. I'd be retired by now if I did. But I'm privileged enough to have hired, worked with, and been largely surrounded with some great marketers in my career. So my role at Vervoe in particular has been an eye-opener for me into how to take that hiring process to another level. And hopefully I can share some insights about that today. Whether people are hiring or talking about hiring the right marketing role and finding the right skills that are required for that marketing role. As I mentioned, being in the tech space for the last 15 years, I've been able to develop a pretty solid network of folks, and that crosses multiple departments within an organization. And when I talk to people in the market today, I feel like they're continually asking me if I know, and I feel like it's now more than ever, anyone in marketing departments that are looking to make a change. I often hear these types of questions and comments. Do you know anyone good for a demand gen role that we have open? I'm having a really hard time finding a good growth marketer. Do you know anyone? I need to build out my marketing team and having a hard time finding talent. I get this on a consistent basis. And I often hear from people in the hiring space that developers can be the toughest hire in the market, but I've got to be honest, and I've become a firm believer that marketing, growth marketing, and good demand generation hires, especially here in Silicon Valley, are equally hard to come by these days. And the question is how do you find them? And, the question is have marketers become the new hiring unicorn? It's something that is absolutely top of mind. So this is a great topic for us to talk about today. So there are a number of theories around this in the space, but it is pretty consistently believed that somewhere between 50 and 85% of candidates rely on their resume. Now, I've been in sales and marketing my whole career, and let's face it, folks in marketing are often, and no harm meant, but folks in marketing are oftentimes really good at BSing their way through conversations. So a lot of the time, marketers will cite statistics and achievements on their resumes that aren't necessarily entirely their responsibility or what they were responsible for. I know that's a shocker, but what we often see on resumes is we were able to increase our social media platform presence from A to B across X number of platforms. Wow, that's incredible. I grew site traffic by 15% in 1 month. Wow, amazing. I have a proven success in increasing qualified leads. Typically the key to successfully understanding whether someone really has done the job, it's largely based on how deep of an understanding you can achieve when you're speaking with them and you're really trying to figure out if they actually did the role and if they were really executing the tasks that are required to claim those rich statistics on their resume. It's not easy to do. And even with these past performance indicators, hiring for marketing can be a very ambiguous task, right? We talked a little bit about the resumes. Well, there's also the education piece. We've got resumes, we've got education, past performance. These all aren't necessarily great predictors of on-the-job performance. So how do you figure it out? Many people, Jonathan, a great question for you is like, how many people do you know out there that are working in the field that they don't have a degree in? I hear that all the time.
Tons. It's literally, you heard from bigger companies too that they decided to not even have that as a prerequisite anymore. Myself, I wanted to quit school, but I finished and I was like, this is a waste of time, and spent most of my last senior year doing pay-per-click work, for my clients and not paying attention. So, and you said earlier too, the biggest thing in regards to even if they actually say how they've improved certain things, at the end of the day, what I'm really curious about is well, how have you proved that you made money? That's the, everybody can have metrics and everybody can skew things in a way that looks good for them. So it's not an indicator for me at all as far as, and honestly, our best people that we have here today are, funny enough, people that had no prior pay-per-click experience.
That's right. And, and one of the statistics out there is that 40% of new hires are working in roles that have nothing to do with their education, and that often rolls all the way through their career. So, and now, and talking specifically about marketing, I have a marketing degree, but marketing in school is very much a theory-based learning process, right? There wasn't, to your point, there wasn't the application. I would also tell you that after being in sales and marketing, and you just called it out, kind of stole my thunder, the best growth marketers that I know have zero university education in marketing, right? They've come up, they've done what you've done, they've worked their way through, they've figured out, they've done self-education, whatever it might be. And, there is this ongoing debate about whether you should hire someone with work experience in a field versus someone from just out of college from a top university. And nothing against Stanford, Harvard, Yale, all the Ivy Leagues and great schools that are out there. But when I'm hiring for marketing, I need someone that can hit the ground running today. I need them to be effective, and that experience is amazing. It's really how I judge performance. So, one of the things that I would also caution about is just when we talk about resumes and education, where do we see the bias in the conversation? And this, I mentioned this earlier as being something that I'm very passionate about. We are at Vervoe. But I recently saw a job posting, to your point, Jonathan, is that the first bullet point was required skills, bachelor's degree from a top university. This is not an uncommon selection criteria. And that said, multiple studies out there call out the fact that education is one of the top items reviewed by recruiters and TA folks and hiring managers when they're scanning a resume. Well, guess what? There's a number of reasons why this ends up being a really bad habit. One, for instance, college performance does not translate to job performance, right? Good grades does not translate to job performance. There's been a number of studies around that. Two, when recruiting from top college, companies are largely overpaying for talent that is not proven, right? Yes, it's great, and these people are brilliant, but you're also fighting for a limited resource, right? And then you end up really competing, number three, for that scarce resource. And so economies of scale, market-driven initiatives, you're going to see that price go up. And then four, you often miss out on some amazing talent because you are limiting your view. You've got to take a broader view, we believe, and get beyond the resume. So, and the fifth reason, again, most important, is that you end up perpetuating systemic biases, and that you're limiting diversity because top colleges inherently favor the affluent. Right? We hear about this every day in the news these days. So there's got to be a better way to do it. So let's talk a little bit about Vervoe. We'll change gears for a second. And Jonathan, any questions yet? Any comments from you at this point?
No, not from my end. I mean, I know you guys so well already. Anybody who's listening, as Damon goes through this, ask questions in the actual GoToWebinar. It's called Control Panel on my side. I don't know if it's called out on your guys' side, but ask questions. We'll then handle them at the end of the talk, and then we can do a little bit of Q&A. But no, none so far.
Very good. Well, let's go through the next step. So I talked a little bit about the passion that we have at Vervoe, and I'll share a little bit about Vervoe and who we are. Vervoe has been around for almost 3 years now. The company was actually founded out of Melbourne, Australia. I opened up the U.S. operations about a year ago. We have offices in Melbourne, Sydney, the Bay Area, Dallas, and in Europe. So the company is growing rapidly, and Jonathan, I know you've heard a little bit about it, but what Vervoe's mission is really to make hiring about merit and not background. And I'll explain a little bit behind that as well. What Vervoe provides is an intelligent platform to evaluate applicants on the job skills and automatically recommend top scorers to hiring managers and recruiters. So candidates can prove their skills on our platform through these real life scenarios. And then we use AI on the back end to stack, rank, order those candidates based solely on how they perform. And let me put a big asterisk by this. We do not look at gender, race, age, education, or background when scoring on the platform. It's 100% based on the performance of the individual on the real life task scenarios, okay? So we work really hard to eliminate the need for resume screening that can often lead to bias in hiring. And our goal is to give everyone an equal opportunity to showcase their skills and make sure we ensure diversity and inclusion in that process. And I know you hear me kind of harp on this theme about the mission and really making hiring about merit, but there is a story behind this, and both of our founders have interesting stories. And Jonathan, I know you know Omer, so I'll share his story in particular. But Omer grew up in Tel Aviv, Israel, went to the best high schools in Tel Aviv. He went into the military, as they do in Israel, and actually was promoted up the ranks to a commander. He got out of the military and worked for a couple of startups in the technology area there in Tel Aviv and was very successful. He was lucky enough to have dual citizenship at the time in Australia as well as Israel. and decided that he wanted to change and was going to move to Australia. Omer went to Australia and sent out 100 resumes exactly, and with a name like Omer Milad and no formal university training, quote unquote, or education on his background, on his resume, he sent out 100 resumes and got exactly 0 responses. This really stuck with him for obvious reasons, and being the overachiever that he is, he went back and got a finance degree and then 2 law degrees, and came back into the work market and ended up running a very large group within a financial organization. It it absolutely stuck with him throughout his career. And what he also found is that the best hires that he uncovered along the way didn't necessarily show the best on paper. The same thing was the case for our other co-founder, David Weinberg. And when the 2 of them got together, they started talking about the problem, both of them very successful. David worked at corp dev for Juniper, and then worked for the Australia Security Division, the government security. And both of them got together, came up with this idea that they could potentially put this into technology to understand someone's capabilities and allow them to showcase their skills. And that's how we ended up with Vervoe. And this whole mission of hiring about merit and not on background is really something that we largely believe in, and obviously something that we push very hard on. So enough about that. I do want to share a brief 2-minute video with you folks. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna share my desktop. And Jonathan, you have to let me know that the sound is coming through here.
To test this before the actual webinar started was not successful, so all right.
Job interview book. Oh my god, it's like the movie. Cool, thank you. Okay, so we made a new hire for our designer position.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm a freaking awesome
Hey, Damon,
designer.
it's not going through that well. Can you pause? What we'll do instead is I'll put the so people can see this on the actual chat. Look at it after. It's a great 2-minute video, but it's just not coming through off the other end.
Fair enough, and I apologize. I had it embedded in the PowerPoint, and for some reason it just wouldn't go. I tested it and all before. So anyway, it is a great video. I think it gives you a decent background and some insights. It's kind of funny. So for sure, if folks can take a look at it, would love to have them check it out. But neither here nor there. We can certainly continue on from here. So thanks for doing that. So let me play from current slide, and we'll go on to what is specifically, what's the problem that we're looking to solve with Vervoe, and how can we help you uncover that hidden talent for that elusive marketing hire that you're looking for out there. Let me do this. 1 second. All right, there we go. Getting the other one out of the way, sorry. So we've talked a bit about the issues with the resumes and some of the inherent bias that are there, and secondarily reviewing resumes and conducting phone screens as part of that process can be extremely resource heavy and time consuming. We also talked a little bit about the job evolution, how growth marketers really, that I've seen, some of the best of them have not been done formal education. They didn't do their training in the classroom. A lot of it was done on the job. And then also want to talk about this lack of diversity piece, lack of diversity and inclusion, and how much it's really costing organizations because of the perpetuation of the bias that we see. And there was actually a Harvard Business Review study that was done, Jonathan, and in that study, they looked at 1,700 companies across 8 different countries with a variety of industries and company sizes, examining diversity across a number of positions, and specifically they measured with respect to gender, age, national origin, career path, industry background, and education. And what was found was that there was a statistically significant relationship between diversity and innovation outcomes in all the companies that were reviewed. So most importantly, they found that the most diverse enterprises were also the most innovative, specifically being measured by the freshness of their revenue mix, meaning these companies that had above average total diversity measured across the previously mentioned dimensions had 19 percentage points higher innovation revenues and 9% point higher EBITDA margins on average. It was an unbelievable kind of aha moment for me when I was reading through that, and we can continue to see that on an ongoing basis. And it's really these organizational decisions that are too focused on background and that end up being biased and time consuming and costing the company that we're really looking to solve for. And we think also uncovers the greatest potential, the diamonds in the rough, if you will, for the marketing hire. So obviously by underinvesting in talent management, most organizations never reach their potential. And these inequalities we talked about earlier are really perpetuated throughout. So let's talk about how we get by that and what it is that Vervoe can do to help you in that process. And what we'll look at today is the standard evaluation process. And when you look at on the y-axis here over to the right, you've got effort and expense, and down on the x-axis, you've got the hiring process. Well, and kind of 3 buckets: candidate attraction is one part, candidate evaluation another, and employee onboarding being the third. And as we look over on the left, we've got a couple of different numbered components here, where the first 2 really fall on the candidate attraction piece. And what you're seeing is really a low level of effort and time spent on candidate attraction, with a much greater effort spent in the candidate evaluation process, meaning screening CVs for keywords, ideal experience, education, the things we've been talking about, phone screening candidates, often going to an assessment center to be able to bring people in to see how they might perform, how they might code, how they might perform a design work or drop a marketing plan, but a significant amount of effort going into that phase, manual, time-consuming effort, and then a lack of energy and effort being spent on employee onboarding. So what we believe is a much better way to approach this is kind of the inverse. It's really getting, when we talk about the Vervoe process and how we look at the market, you want to be able to automate the evaluation of candidates through a platform, whether it's Vervoe or some other component, to improve the experience. Make sure you're reducing the screening time and the effort put in by talent acquisition. And at the end of the day, attracting and finding the best talent, right? Being able to automate to reduce bias, to reduce cost, and again, uncover that diamond in the rough. And then being able to focus on the employee onboarding at the end of the time and make sure that you're setting these employees up for success. And so it's kind of that this process, that how we look at it when we just flip it back, where we're seeing people spend a ton of time and money and where we really think that they should be spending time and money and effort. So this is what we think Vervoe can do. And this is a little bit about how we solve the problem. So Jonathan, I'll pause for 2 seconds. Any questions there, thoughts or feedback at this point?
There's one person asking right now, can Vervoe be used for finding a candidate for any industry, or do you focus exclusively on like the tech world?
Great question. And Vervoe can be used for any industry, and let me put a little asterisk by that. Where we work best is with what we call knowledge workers. Those folks that work on a computer and have an internet connection. So in other words, quote unquote, blue collar, hands-on types of experiences are not necessarily where we'd be a great fit from a certification standpoint. If they had to take a test to understand what their knowledge was around that, we could certainly be used there. but this isn't a what we'll call like a hands-on hammer and tool kind of thing where you could really understand that, but you can certainly understand from a knowledge worker standpoint, folks that are using computers for their daily work, where we see a ton of success, and it really does span industries. That's a great question. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the problems we solve and how I think we can help with the marketing solution here. So instead of three key areas we'll talk about for a second here. So one, reducing employee turnover. Two, building those diverse teams to help your organization. And three, reducing that recruitment time and dealing with potentially high applicant volume or even low applicant volume, but helping to differentiate whether the person has the capabilities. But reducing employee turnover, really it's the focus on, instead of screening resumes, Vervoe shows you how candidates can actually do on-the-job performance, and thus this is a much larger indicator of how they're going to perform in the role than just their resume, right? And even these phone screens that we're talking about. So being able to give everyone an equal opportunity. So Vervoe, actually our pricing model, and Jonathan, you'll know this, but our pricing model is not done on the number of candidates you put through the platform. Our pricing is really done on the number of hires that you do. So whether you use Vervoe or another tool, and you want to make sure you're giving candidates all of the everyone an equal opportunity to showcase their skills, make sure that's the model that you're looking at, because we're only going to charge you based on hires at the end of the day. You could put 10, 100, you could put 10, 100, 1,000 candidates to the platform. Just based on the hires is what we're going to charge you for. And that really gives everyone an equal opportunity. And it also opens up that aperture for you to be able to find and uncover that hidden talent. Okay. So, and again, the ability for, to focus by reducing the recruitment time and being able to deal with this high applicant volume. We'll talk a little bit more about the AI and how that's used on the back end, but it really does give you the ability to stack rank order candidates based on how they perform solely, to give you an idea of who would be the best fit. And you certainly gives you a great place to start. We're not telling you who to hire, but we're at least giving you an idea of where to start, especially if you have these high volume roles. Our customers are consistently getting back to us with a number of different statistics, but one of the keys is really improved time to hire. We see people talking about a 70% improvement. We know that once candidates are on our platform and they start the process, once they've gotten through question one, we have a 97% completion rate. This is a key metric for, is this a hurdle? Are you slowing them down? People really want to showcase that they have the ability to do the skills and do the role. And once they get on, and I'll share a couple of quotes with you here in just a little bit, people really enjoy the environment. They love the ability to showcase that. Now, we do see a little bit of a drop-off when people first come to the platform, in complete transparency, but those are folks that typically don't have the skills for the role. They click on the link, they open up what we call a talent trial or assessment, and they say, uh-oh, I actually show that I know what to do, and you'll see people fall off at that point. But once they start, once the person knows what they're getting into, you absolutely see this great completion rate. And we're very proud of the fact that of all of our candidates, 62% plus are female. So we're really pushing the inclusion and diversity piece. So intelligent skill testing. This, again, is the ability to recreate that environment to give someone the opportunity to showcase that they have the skills required for the role that you're looking to hire. Our machine learning models will automatically grade these responses, and we don't need to generate a baseline from companies' employees. Oftentimes when you're dealing with AI, you have to create a baseline model, and it takes months to set up. What we do is we use all of our historical data. We've had hundreds of thousands of candidates who have been through the platform, and we use all of that data to establish a baseline model that we work from. And you can automatically grade without right or wrong answers, dynamic tests, free text, documents, spreadsheets. So in other words, for a marketing role, I might have someone create a presentation for me in on a presentation format. I might have them lay out in document format what that marketing plan might look like. I might ask them some questions in multiple choice to understand what their knowledge around social media is. I might ask them to respond in a video or watch a video about our culture and tell me what you thought, or respond in a video and tell me how you're going to communicate with the team and build out your marketing team. So all of these different ways of engaging on the platform are all there that really make it very easy, very intuitive to be able to engage with your candidates and make sure that they're having a great experience. I'll just briefly touch on this. I don't want to go too deep into the AI and the details here, but Vervoe's predictive score model is instantly deployable. Like I mentioned, you don't have to train the model up front. It does continually learn, and there are thousands of role-specific models that are automatically tailored to each employer. In other words, it will learn from you over time based on your preferences what type of person that you're looking for. So let me talk a little bit about how we automatically grade the candidate responses, and then I'll pause and see what questions come up. But we look at three things. We look at how we analyze the data, what data we analyze, and how we take your preferences into account, right, within the AI. So Vervoe analyzes the way that all candidates perform tasks to detect mastery of skills, meaning Vervoe will detect these patterns between the candidate behavior and grades given by comparable candidates by the recruiters and hiring managers on the platform. So that's what we'll analyze and look at and say, okay, this person was scored really well. We're looking for similar attributes, meaning how they performed on the platform. That pushes us to the data that we actually analyze. What data do we analyze? And it's the candidate responses that are analyzed, and specifically how they respond. We look at the text, we look at the video transcripts, we look at what they did on the presentation, and we look at how they approach that from a speed perspective, from an engagement perspective, from misspellings, the intensity. But again, what we never analyze is personal data. We never look at age, gender, race, background, education, any of those pieces. And then the third piece is we really take into account your preferences. Again, you'll have that core model to start with, about 83, 85% accurate, and then the model continues to learn from you over time to help really customize the model for the roles that you're looking to hire from. And when you grade those candidate responses, Vervoe will learn from your preferences and take them into account when next calculating those grades. So let me pause there for 2 seconds and see if there's any questions, Jonathan.
No questions yet. Pretty quiet on that front, so keep on trucking.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. Good. So let's look at how do we create the content? How do we create something that's applicable to the role that you're looking to hire for? And hiring for a content marketer, say for company A, is very different than hiring for a content marketer at company B. There's going to be different responsibilities, different technologies, different approaches that will be needed. So really hiring for a role at company A is contextually dependent than hiring for a role at company B. And this is where Vervoe can help. By typing in what you're looking for, we can help across 100,000 plus questions and tasks, auto-generate these skills tests to uniquely tailor each employer's perspective or preferences, excuse me. In other words, you type in, I'm looking to hire a content marketer, 5 years experience who has blogging, brevity, and product marketing skills. They should be based in Los Angeles, be open-minded, and have grit. The highlighted text is the stuff that we're going to grab onto, and we're going to go in and pull out something around content marketing. We're going to look for them to have blogging and brevity, product marketing capabilities, have them be open-minded and have some grit. And we'll bring all these questions together for you to select the questions that are relevant for your role and easily design something that is quote unquote bespoke for the specific contextually dependent job role that you're hiring for, in this case, a content marketer. You can customize those questions. You can also work with our organizational psychology team to create something that's not even in the library. So we make this a really easy part of the process to make sure you're getting the role that you're really looking for, the person that you're really looking for, and to uncover the skills that are going to be a best fit for your organization. So question examples, depending on where you're hiring in the funnel, whether you have a large volume of folks that are coming through, you have a number of folks that are applying for a role. This would be what we call the general aptitude questions. So high volume, top of funnel type of things, really looking to understand things around logical reasoning, pattern recognition, some basic spreadsheet actions. In particular, what you might look for in marketing is the logical reasoning, some written comprehension, communication skills, attention to detail, document skills, these kinds of things that you can design with the AI Talent Trial Builder, a specific talent trial or assessment that is bespoke and targeted towards the hire that you're looking to do. On the other hand, we also have what we'll call middle of volume, more task-based skills that if you've got it down, you've narrowed it down to, let's say, 5 individuals who you've engaged with. These are passive candidates. They're very interested in working for you. You've talked to them, and now you need to be able to differentiate between each one of them and figure out who has the greatest capabilities. Then you might get into something which are more the task-based questions and have it be more around writing skills, design skills, presentation skills, document skills. Really get more detailed in what you're doing to understand that they have the capabilities for the specific role you're looking to hire for. Okay. So with regards to features and turbocharging your hiring process, Vervoe is here to support you in many different ways. We talked a little bit about the unlimited candidates, really the ability to open it up to everyone so you can uncover that hidden talent. We have the ability for you to manage talent pools on the platform, so be able to filter across candidates and look for specific capabilities and what they do. There's certainly analytics that come along with all of this so that you can understand how you're performing. We actually provide you with trackable links. So in other words, if I'm posting a job to Indeed, I'm posting a job to LinkedIn, and I'm posting a job on my website, I can tell who's coming through each of those links to understand where my investment is going and ensure that I can reinvest in the places that are working. I can actually see how each of the sources perform, meaning how the individuals perform by source, so that I know which source is most successful for me. One of the things that I certainly want to talk about is how we share candidate cards. The candidate cards within the Vervoe platform allow you to have a candidate come through a talent trial, take that talent trial, and then share it with either your hiring managers or if you're a recruiter, multiple customers. The ability to not send across a resume, a LinkedIn link, and then a quick little synopsis and email, but actually send them a link that shows what the candidate has done on the platform, shows that they actually have those skills, and allow them to see that for themselves. We find that folks that actually are using that process, much higher placement value, placement ratio, meaning the number of people that they submit to the number of interviews that are taking place, and into the number of hires that are happening, much shorter time frame as well. So again, just a number of different ways to be able to engage with the platform, to engage for your customers, whether they're internal or whether they're external, and be able to show how well a candidate has performed. And again, what we're looking to from a marketing perspective, a marketing hire, is how can I find that person that's the diamond in the rough and uncover them throughout this process. So we are certainly mobile friendly. The ability to do employer branding is something that is key for Vervoe, meaning you can put your logo, you can put your coloring, you can create branding around all of your messaging and tone of messaging as well. And then certainly video introductions, attach a personalized video for the job applicant. This is a way to make sure that those applicants are having a great experience on the platform and enjoying the process that they're going through. I'll pause one more time, Jonathan, just before I start to wrap it up, and just share a little bit about what our customers and candidates are saying. Any questions or thoughts from you?
No questions from my end right now. Again, I'm the fan here and basically giving you the stage. So at the end, I'm going to do another another pitch to get people started too, but so keep going.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, talk a little bit about what candidates and customers are saying early in the process, but we have a number of large staffing organizations, asked about industries, whether it's staffing or talent acquisition teams who are hiring internally. We really do kind of span the gamut, and this was one quote that I loved. But Vervoe is giving my candidates an unfair advantage over the rest. Without Vervoe assessment, hiring managers have a 50-50 chance of knowing who to hire, meaning they're just looking at a resume or a LinkedIn profile or a synopsis of the conversation with a recruiter. But with Vervoe, they have a 90% chance because they can actually see the individuals performing relevant tasks on the platform. Vanessa is a client relationship director at Kforce and is using Vervoe to place candidates across a variety of roles, including marketing. Our NPS score for all of our candidates who are on the platform, we do pop up an NPS score at the end of the process, meaning we allow them to rate us from 1 to 10. Once they do that, we also ask them to make comments and give us feedback. You can see by this chart, the majority of the candidates' experience have been extremely pleasurable. People really do like the environment. They like being able to showcase their skills, and an NPS of 63 plus is pretty amazing. All of this information we take back and we analyze. We look at it from a marketing perspective, a product perspective, a customer success and sales perspective. We take that feedback from our candidates and from our customers to make ourselves better on a daily basis. And candidates really do love the Vervoe platform. Just a couple of quotes that candidates and why they see Vervoe as an opportunity to succeed. The one in the middle in particular, this is the most innovative interview experience and gives me flexibility to present my ideas in a streamlined way. Innovation is something which I appreciate a lot, and this interview experience is one of them. I would highly recommend this to be widely adopted. And that's from a candidate. That's from somebody who's on the platform, and somebody who, like the one below that, I've never seen such an organized interview that's unbiased and totally based on merit. I keep ringing that bell, but the candidate said, I also like the user-friendly interface, not going to be any problems. The experience has been fulfilling. So that type of feedback is really what drives us. It gets us excited to get up in the morning because we hear that from candidates, we hear that from hiring managers, we hear that from our recruiters, people using the platform on a daily basis. This is just something that has been a real consistent theme. So I could go through a number of different feedback pieces here, but I think this is probably a good time for me to kind of wrap it up here, Jonathan. Any questions from you?
I almost want to like summarize everything you said. At the end of the day, you're more certain that you're making the right hire, like you said, based off merit, and the speed to hire is now also quicker. One of the things that can be very, very bad about a platform like Vervoe, which isn't the case obviously with you guys, is that it feels very, very not genuine, or as if the company hiring the person doesn't have time to speak with them individually, but it's actually the opposite based off the feedback that you also showed. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that in this webinar too. And like my pitch was in the beginning as well, like you need to try this out. It's literally free. Like one of your plans is free that you can do, and it all depends on once you actually start having higher, I can't even speak, a higher volume of hiring. That's when the thing, like the platform and the tool, like pays for itself completely. So even the monthly cost isn't that much. But even before you even worry about that, just use it for free and see how it performs, because you will basically uncover many more diamonds in the rough that you didn't know how to ask for before. And if you allow your HR person, or you're doing that yourself because you're wearing many hats, us as humans will not be able to make sure that we're being meticulous every single time we go through that process too. So giving this like little in between before you even meet people in person, or have the phone calls and things like that too, it's such like an indispensable value and tool to use. So try it out.
I appreciate that, Jonathan, and I will
Can I get a
echo
job?
the
I feel like I'm
yeah. I was going to say we've got a sales opening if you're interested. We'll put you through the platform and see how you do.
Oh, there we go. Let's.
No, I do want to echo exactly what you said, and thank you for that. It was wonderful. And I do want to tell everyone to please go to vervoe.com and do try out the free trial. You can absolutely try it out. You can see how it works. You can get a feel for it. And to your point, hiring volume, as long as you're at a lower, higher volume start to test it out, you absolutely can have access to the platform. And it's in its full form and fashion. The free version really is no different than the enterprise version. And again, we work with companies of all sizes, from the SMB market up and through enterprise. We have a variety of different customers and industries that we work through. So we would love to have you on. We'd love to show you more of the details behind the scenes and even walk you through a demo. And if you do come to us and mention this webinar, we would also give you a 25% off coupon and allow you to join up. So please do come and mention this webinar, the Client Boost, and we'd love to give you a little bit of a discount.
Well, we'll have this recording on forever because we're going to put it on YouTube too. But this is funny. So Josh Roberts is lagging in the question department, but he just gave us one actually. So before you leave, Damon, I'm going to give you this one last one. Okay. So basically, he said, "Great presentation. Vervoe is going to revolutionize the talent acquisition process and no doubt leave the business world a better place by leveling the playing field for candidates without a ton of formal education." Another salesperson you should hire right there. Now here comes the question. Do you think Vervoe could be used by outside recruiting firms such as Adecco and Randstad? If so, do you think there will be pushback from internal HR departments when they receive applicants who don't look as promising on paper? That's a good question.
Yeah, and I think I asked, I think I understand the question, but absolutely, we work with a variety of different staffing firms, whether they are contingent, whether they are permanent, whether they are RPOs, whether they are outsourced providers. We have worked with them in a number of different forms, meaning we can be part of their internal tech stack, we can be part of their branded tech stack they use with their customers, and then we can also be sold directly to customers. In other words, we did, I made a comment earlier about Kforce. We actually were seeing, and I think this is the root of the question, but we were actually seeing a customer that pushed back a little bit on on Kforce because they were presenting our candidate. You can share this link, right? I talked about these candidate cards. You simply share a link, and they were sharing a link with the customer, and the customer thought that they did have a little bit of an unfair advantage. And we love that because the unfair advantage is one of our favorite terms. But they actually said, I feel like you have an unfair advantage. And they went back to and looked at the process and decided that no, this is just a better way to showcase the candidate. And what it does is it really gives the candidate a true ability to showcase their skills, and that in this case, other vendors should be also using a tool like this to be able to showcase. Because you're right, presenting a resume and a short synopsis via email and a LinkedIn profile comes nowhere near to being able to showcase somebody that's actually in video doing specific on-the-job tasks. And executing skills that are related to the specific environment and requirements. So it certainly does give us an unfair advantage. And we did have that initial pushback once, but since then, what people, and this is how we coined it, is it really does give the candidate a more realistic chance and ability to showcase their skills. And what they did was push back on the other vendors and said, hey, you need to find something like this, which we love.
It's funny. I would imagine that recruiting firms would actually get a larger pool of candidates using like Vervoe in regards to that, because they might not have candidates on there that would fit the normal bill of like, hey, they have the education, right? Like we're doing it based off merit. There's actually a question for me. I'm like, why am I getting questions? But I'll take this one. Question for Jonathan. What is the most valuable skill set to you as an employer? In my world, the things that I value the most is curiosity, because curiosity leads to wanting to be better. and also like understanding the why behind everything that we do too, and how we can improve things. And then obviously likability is to like, are you actually a fun person? Because you're going to be interacting with clients, you're going to be building relationships, things like that too. We've benchmarked internally ourselves our best people, and then we track that against other candidates that come on board too. So that was the second question that you basically had, is what do you want to see before you onboard someone into your organization? And the third question is, what is the biggest hiring mistake that you have made? I think I go into these interviews and I see the other person across the table from me. They're smiling, they're likable, and I'm like, okay, you're human, you're breathing, you're hired, and we'll teach you everything else after that. And that wasn't enough due diligence on my part in the past to make sure that we actually have a long-term great fit that can also help us improve and not just be another, you know, cog in the wheel. So thanks for the question. That's pretty awesome. But Damon, we'll send the recording to everybody. I want to thank you for taking the time to be able to share everything that you know and how amazing the platform is. And again, just the value itself is kind of speaks for itself. We'll also put this on YouTube, and then hopefully you guys get a ton of interest from this. That's my goal at least. So thank you, and thank you guys all for being here.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. Really appreciate you having us, and thanks to everyone who attended.
All right, thanks guys. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.